This week in East Brunswick, the high school's wrestling team remained undefeated, beating Sayreville 28-16. First up, we'll see the final match of that contest, East Brunswick's Glenn Pazinco against Mike Bouchard. Later, John Magliero will interview Pazinco. We'll also have our regular features this week. Health tips with Ken Shalhoub on the AIDS virus. A Kids Comments book review from Talia Bashi. Consumer tips from Adrian Eisner, this week focusing on employment agencies, and our Township Council review. Before we get to the wrestling, here's a look at next week's Channel 8 lineup. Monday at 10 a.m., it's Look Great, Feel Great with Lenore Kulik and exercises for senior citizens. At 10:30, it's Color East Brunswick with Rosalind Carpel and a look at bridal extravaganzas. Tuesday evening at 7:30 on Let's Talk Health, Ken Shalhoub interviews Dr. Ira Clemens on head and facial pain and dysfunction, followed at 8 by You and Your Money with Paul Hansen. At 8:30, it's a rebroadcast of East Brunswick High School's wrestling team against Sayreville. The matchup will be shown in its entirety, with play-by-play by John Magliero and Paul Quirk. Wednesday at 3, it's Stories from the Library, read by East Brunswick librarians. We'll be back Thursday at 7 and 8 with more This Week in East Brunswick. Now to our first item. The high school wrestling team remained undefeated as they beat Sayreville's Bombers handily 28-16 on Wednesday night. One of the evening's highlights was the final match, which pitted East Brunswick Bear Glenn Pazinco against Sayreville's Mike Bouchard. Here is that match in its entirety with commentary by John Magliero and Paul Quirk.
No way. So no matter what Pazinco does, East Brunswick will win.
Yes.
The team score is now 28-16. Pazinco will come out and wrestle heavyweight against Bouchard, and the crowd is wild. Last match of the night, here we go.
Glenn has wrestled heavyweight a number of times. In the union match, he moved to heavyweight and beat his opponent, who was 30 pounds heavier, and also the third place finisher in the state last year.
Well, Bouchard's not showing him any respect, that's for sure. First period action. Bouchard is driving hard. No one has any advantage at this point.
Pretty good exchange.
They seem to be rolling with one another.
Bouchard has a takedown.
A minute and 6 seconds here in the first period. Pazinco and Bouchard at the heavyweight level.
Sounds like the fans love this one. Looks like there's a little bit of weight difference here also.
Bouchard has a 2-point lead now. 26 seconds, first period. Pazinco trails.
Trying to set up a roll here.
Pazinco gets it down. Reversal for 2-2.
Glenn is very tough in the composition.
Got Bouchard turned over. And that's the end of the first period.
He's going to pick up a near fall there.
And he'll get 2 more.
I can't believe the crowd, John. I can hardly hear you. I'm sitting right next to you.
It's 4-2 Pazinco after 1 period. As we said, this means nothing in terms of the team score. East Brunswick will win regardless of what Pazinco does. They lead 28-16. But this match here is 4-2 in favor of Pazinco over Bouchard. He's got his back to the mat again.
He's very tough on top. He likes to use legs and his power half here. Very, very powerful.
Well, Pazinco's extended his lead 7-2, but Bouchard has taken him into the second period. Minute 23 to go in the second period. 7-2, Pazinco. Strength over there.
He puts a lot of pressure on that, an awful lot of pressure.
We're down to about 57 seconds. Second period. Pazinco's got him over again. I think this is it. 47 seconds. Nice move by Bouchard.
He's going to get a neutral here.
He's got two.
And a takedown. Glenn didn't protect himself there. He should have gotten that right arm up. He just spun behind to get the takedown.
The score is now 9-5. Bouchard trails, but he's on top. Seconds in the second period. We'll see who has it for the third.
Cradle there.
10 seconds. Pazinco rolls him over. Bouchard rolls Pazinco. It's back and forth. 3 seconds. Second period.
That's it.
That's it. With no time showing. Pazinco pulls Bouchard.
We're at East Brunswick High School, where East Brunswick has just defeated Sayreville in an exciting wrestling match. And standing next to me is one of East Brunswick's top wrestlers, Glenn Pazinco. Glenn, you moved up to heavyweight and had to wrestle Bouchard of Sayreville. Tough match.
Yeah, it's always tough going up to heavyweight when you're outweighed, because that weight really tires you out quicker, and they're also a lot stronger. So I was kind of tired after it was done, but I really was expecting to do as well.
Why did they move you up to heavyweight and move Goldberg down?
Well, first of all, we went into the match weighing us both in at 187 in case we needed to shuffle around the weights in case it was a close match and we had to adjust our lineup accordingly. But as it turned out, I mean, going into the match, I was planning on wrestling Bouchard just for the sake of better competition, since I have had a lot of quick pins and they wanted to get me a tough man to wrestle. So the logic behind it was if we could weigh him in, we could wrestle him at 87 and move me up to get the tougher match.
Glenn, there was a lot of talk about the fellow you wrestled from Union. How would you rate Bouchard against that fella?
Well, I think I was a little bit more ready for Barber from Union because I knew of his reputation. And I had wrestled Barber in, Bouchard in practices that we hold here after districts for people who qualify for regions. So I kind of knew what it was, but I really don't think I was as ready for the match as I should have been.
Glenn, you had an outstanding football season. You're wrestling, you're undefeated. I think no one has gone more than 2 periods with you. You got to be pleased with your athletic career thus far in your senior year here.
Yes, I just hope I can continue with this success.
Well, I know you will, and I'm sure I can speak for all of East Brunswick, congratulating you tonight, first of all, on an outstanding match, and for all the thrills that you've provided us during your stay here at East Brunswick. And good luck to you in the future.
Thank you very much.
Watch for our special cablecast of this match in its entirety Thursday, January 24th at 9 p.m., or Saturday the 26th at 1 p.m., or Tuesday the 29th at 8:30. And let us know if you've enjoyed our whole game or whole match coverage and would like to see more. Now here's Ken Shalhoub with this week's Health Facts.
Hi, I'm Ken Shalhoub. AIDS is in the spotlight, and so I thought I'd talk a little bit about AIDS, or acquired immune deficiency syndrome. It seems like they found the virus that they feel causes the disease. It's called HTLV-3, and by the way, the source of this is Science News, volume 125. And it's what's known as a retrovirus, which means it comes into your body and it pulls certain characteristics from you and changes them and puts them back into you. And the researchers from the National Cancer Institute and officials from the Department of Health and Human Services feel confident enough with their findings that they feel that pretty soon, at least within 6 months, they'll be able to produce a screening reagent so that they can check bloods that come in and screen them to make sure that they're not harboring the AIDS virus. And then, of course, down the road, a vaccine is always on the horizon. None of these, of course, will help people that have AIDS, but if we can first screen blood so that we can stop this problem from occurring with people that get transfusions, and then if we can come up with a vaccine and administer it to high-risk people such as hemophiliacs, we can get a handle on this disease called AIDS, which seems to be turning into a bigger problem than everybody thought in the beginning. So thanks for watching Health Facts.
Hi, I'm Talia Bashi, and I'll be reading a review by Mary Catherine Palmer, 5th Grade Magic by Beatrice Gormley. Ever since kindergarten, Gretchen Nichols has been waiting to star in the school play. Now she is in the 5th grade and ready to be the star of the play. But when the teacher picks the pretty blonde Amy Sacker for the starring role, Gretchen is furious. Gretchen isn't sure what to do until a strange visitor appears to her one afternoon. Aurora doesn't look much like a fairy godmother, but Gretchen is too desperate to be fussy. With the magical powers of Aurora's Enchantilator, soon Gretchen and not Amy will be up there on stage where she belongs. I think 4th, 5th, and 6th graders will enjoy this book because it is a very funny story.
Hello, and welcome to Consumer Aware. I'm Adrienne Eisner of the East Brunswick Consumer Affairs Office. Today we're going to be talking about employment agencies. In these times, when getting a job or changing careers is so difficult, many people turn to employment agencies for help. The Division of Consumer Affairs regulates all private agencies, executive recruiters, headhunters, and temporary employment service firms. Most of these agencies do not charge a fee to the applicant, although the law allows a fee to be charged in all cases except for the temporary service firms. Usually, the fee is charged to the employer. When a fee is charged, the applicant is asked to sign a contract, usually printed on the back of the application. Contractual arrangements vary, but generally there are 2 types. The first requires an applicant to pay an upfront fee, that is, before the applicant is employed. This fee is refundable if the agency does not find employment for the applicant. The second type of contract requires an applicant to pay a fee after employment is found. Usually this fee is based on a percentage of the first year's gross income. If you accept employment through an agency, which requires you to pay a fee, but leave the job prematurely or fail to report at all, you may have to pay all or part of the fee. As with any contract, it is important to read it carefully before you sign. If you don't understand a provision, ask questions. If the contract language is confusing to you, chances are it's confusing to others as well. In the past several years, a new entity has appeared, known as Career Counseling Services. These companies are not currently regulated by New Jersey law. Their services include seminars, lectures, and private counseling sessions designed to improve an applicant's approach to the job market. Resumes, letters, and lists of potential employers are often furnished to an applicant. While many career counseling firms are legitimate and provide a valuable service, some, unfortunately, offer shoddy services for exorbitant fees. The consumer seeking these counseling services is often unemployed or dissatisfied with present employment and therefore is willing to pay an excessive fee when a slick sales pitch is made. Here are some helpful tips. Make sure that all oral promises are written into the contract that you sign. Make sure you understand the refund policy, if any, if you are not satisfied with the service. Ask to see examples of resumes and letters to see if they are of good quality. Make sure you understand what is included in the fee and what is extra. If you have any questions about private employment agencies, executive recruiters, headhunters, or temporary help services, or career counseling firms, please contact us at the East Brunswick Consumer Affairs Office. Our telephone number is 390-6954. Our office is in the Municipal Building. We're there Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. Thank you for joining me on Consumer Aware.
At Monday's Township Council meeting, the Old Bridge Historic District was once again discussed. References were made to a meeting held at the district last Thursday evening. The council also discussed the designation of Township Historian. First, some excerpts from Thursday's Old Bridge meeting. Resident Jim Culleton.
The mayor gave us a very reassuring, he reassured us that everything would work out. He sent us back as a committee to work up revisions in the ordinance, put in such words as advisory. So it's in there. So the commission would be advisory and other things. At this time, the committee met again on how to go about that, and we decided that before we go out and rewrite an ordinance or bring up revisions, let's find out exactly what the village and the residents want. Do they want an ordinance at all before we arbitrarily just assume that we should write changes to an ordinance? So with that, we held several meetings. We brought everybody together. Now bear in mind, at all the meetings throughout, we had requested documented fact from everybody that attended of the horror stories or the problems that had incurred over the period, the years going before the commission and just under the National Register. These stories are documented. We have many letters here. Those letters were forwarded on to the mayor along with those signatures on the first letter. So the mayor is fully aware of the things that had transpired. I'm sure he hasn't heard some of the good things probably that has happened. Neither have I, to tell you the truth, if there are good things. But again, like I say, the mayor did respond on December 4th, and we went away with the feeling that maybe this might work. When we decided to ask the village exactly if they want to live under the ordinance at all, we found out we had an overwhelming and unanimous vote that close to 80% of everybody polled, and we did go to every household and taxpayer and resident that lives in the village. And Rich was in charge of vote counting. And it was determined that almost 80% of the people in the village wanted a change of some sort. Nobody wanted to live under the present conditions as the ordinance and the commission stands now.
Another resident had specific objections.
My name is Mike Corrent. Now I want, as a taxpayer, I want the same privilege living where I'm living as the people on the other side of town. I don't want to go through a hazard like I did before. Now, if I want to put a couple of rooms to my house, the township don't allow me, that's a different thing. But if I have a leaky roof, I don't like to go through what I went through to get it put on.
I agree.
Now, they wanted me to put the same material on that roof that I was taking off, which was about 30 years old. Where are you going to buy that? The only material that you could buy today is what they're making today. And I had to go to the Supreme Court, a 4-woman, hour and 5-minute meeting. They had to take a vote for me to put a roof on my house. Now supposing I was hit with lightning or something and the roof was halfway down. I'm going to keep that roof there until they cast a vote to give me an okay to put a new roof on there? That's it.
Richard Walling, present at both the Old Bridge meeting Thursday and the Monday Township Council session, expressed solidarity with the residents, as did Mayor Fox, who called for careful deliberation on the Historic District ordinances, and suggested that discussions be opened with the Planning Board. At Monday's Township Council meeting, Walling read a statement of his concerns.
Many of you have attended the last two Historic Preservation Commission meetings, at which members of the Commission and I, as the Township Historian, have talked about the legal mandate of the Preservation Commission. I believe that the Commission has worked with the residents and that the Preservation Ordinance serves to protect them from outside threats, such as improper uses along Main Street. I am sure that you remember when the nursery tried to open at 162 Main Street and when the Recreation Department renamed Keystone Ballfield Riverbend Park. Both times a member of the Commission went to bat for the residents, and both times the residents won. This village is special, very special. No other township neighborhood can boast of local people who care so much about the heritage of their area. From the time Mrs. Sylvester and Mrs. Texter researched the Revolutionary War history of the South River Bridge area to the ongoing research and discussion of your past, so well exemplified by Uncle Bill Kramer. The members of the Commission realize the special character of the neighborhood and have always strived to help the residents keep the village intact. The remarks I made perhaps best summed up everyone's feelings at the October meeting of the Commission, a meeting held there in the village so that you could come and air your grievances. At that time, I said, it was my mother's dream to see this village become the jewel of East Brunswick, to see a museum, to see Main Street revitalized. For the past 9 years, the present administration has not fulfilled any of those promises. During that time, the Preservation Commission has been caught in the middle because it is the only avenue between the district and the township. When the township makes promises about sidewalks along Main Street and planting 29 shade trees and installing park benches, and then does not fulfill those promises, how can residents live with the restrictions called for in the ordinance? It is unfair. The residents know that, I know that, and the Commission knows that.
Following the statement, Council President O'Connor noted that no ordinance had ever been adopted officially designating Walling as Township Historian. Attorney Bertram Bush read state statutes outlining procedures governing the appointment of a Township Historian, which apparently had not been followed in the Walling case. Richard showed his letter of appointment and explained that though he had been asked to resign, he had not, nor had he received a notice of termination. Mayor Fox responded to both the continued discussion of the Historic District and to the Township Historian question.
You know, I find it most interesting that somehow Mr. Walling and his associates in preservation seem to want us to believe that the Commission is a victim in all of this. And they're just trying to do good in the community, where the story that I get from the residents is that it's the residents who've been victimized. We heard, and you've seen, I've provided you with copies of Mr. Walling's so-called report. I've provided you with much of the correspondence I've received, copies from residents there. And for the past year, there's been a rather consistent pattern of unreasonable requests, onerous requirements, inordinate delays on the part of the Commission that have been witnessed by members of the public that has brought the situation where it is. And indeed, I am very much on the side of the residents, and I wonder whether the hassle is worth whatever comes with having an historic preservation ordinance. And I think that's something that we have to consider very carefully. As to all of this, let's take it sort of in reverse order. On the appointment of Mr. Walling as local historian, my recollection of that event was that John Runyon came to me one day and said, Rich Walling has asked, would you appoint him local historian? And I said, yes, I would. Seemed like an innocuous enough thing to do. And Rich, I knew, had an interest in the history of the community. And so I wrote a letter doing that, being unaware of the statutory basis for it. And, you know, I suppose having done that, as Mr. Bush says, I can now undo that by asking for his resignation. And the reason is that, not that he has been reported in some quarters, been a critic, but rather that the report that we received, this is a reason that's given in my letter to him, simply does not have the objectivity, does not have the accuracy that one would expect of an historian.
Also on Monday, the council saw a presentation by Township Engineer William Tanner on the Fairgrounds North soccer field. Members of the East Brunswick Soccer Club came before the council to first explain that 2 fields, due to recent standardization of field dimensions, are now undersized, then to ask if any excess project funds could be used to bring those fields up to standard size. That's all for this week. Thanks for watching.